The following video contains explicit language that may be inappropriate for children and/or offensive to some viewers.
I'm 56 now. I am tired, people. I don't want to work anymore. I'm actually thinking about becoming a hooker just so I can lie on my back for the rest of my life.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Beyond the Stage. My name is Ruth Egerman. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Livermore Valley Arts. And I'm with our host and Executive Director, Chris Carter. Say hi, Chris.
Hey, Ruth, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? I feel like I really, yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
doing fine. How do you feel?
It's exhausting where I am. As you can see, I'm not in my usual green room today. I am in Illinois and helping my parents move out of their house and into a place in Michigan where I have two sisters. So
Do they
it's
have
crazy
a
time.
lot? Do they have a lot of stuff?
Oh my God. They have stuff. Yes, they have a lot of stuff. And for at least 20 years, they have been telling us to take our stuff with them,
Yeah,
with us when we come to visit, take your stuff, take your stuff, take your stuff. And we've all taken our stuff. So the rest is actually theirs.
just
And
their
it's a lot of
stuff.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. Mostly papers, a lot of papers,
Yeah.
lots of papers,
Yeah. Is this an opportunity to downsize a little bit?
a lot.
Or
It's an opportunity
okay.
to downsize a lot. So they're going from a 4-bedroom house, you know, their house is on about a half acre of
Hmm.
property. And so it's an opportunity to downsize a lot, which is nice. But it's funny today we got the opportunity, as our audience will find out, we got the opportunity to talk to the funny women of a certain age. So that was Julia Scotti, Carole Montgomery, Barb North, and Monique
Monique Marvez.
Marvez. And super fun. They're all women of a certain age, from the 60s to, it sounded like 80s, right?
70s.
70s.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, lots of good
But
stories. Very funny.
yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Love it.
It was so much fun to
Yeah.
talk to them. They were hysterical. And I had this feeling when we went in that you were going to ask one question and that was going to be it.
Yeah, I don't talk too much in this one, which is fine.
But they answered all of the questions that you would have asked them about their process, about all
Yeah,
of that kind of stuff, and who they looked up to, why they do what they do, you
yeah.
know. And so it was really fun to talk to them.
They're all
So
friends. They're
they're
all
all friends,
extremely talented, and you
extremely
could,
funny.
yeah, yeah. So you know the show is going to be pretty special. So I
Yeah.
more than just a comedy show. I think there's going to be, um, it's going to make you feel good. So that's what
Yeah,
I'm
I think
looking forward to.
the first 2 times they were here, I think I gave the curtain speech both times they were here. I think Andrew and I did it together the first time they were here, and
Yeah,
then I did it last year. And I did get to go back in the green room, you know, and give that and, you know, introduce myself and stuff. And they were having a ball in the green room,
yeah,
and they were just fun. And then they come out on stage and they bring their joy, they bring their vulnerability, they bring the go ahead, laugh at me. I'm going to give you an opportunity,
yeah, yeah.
you know. So it was really fun. It was really fun. Have you seen
Yeah.
them? I didn't know if you had
No,
been in
no,
town.
I've missed both the times they've been to the Bankhead. Unfortunately, I've been out of town both times. But I'm hopeful that I'll be around this time.
Hopefully, yeah, it
Um,
should be great.
yeah, really, we love comedy, and I think comedy does well in Livermore at the Bankhead. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of the things you brought up when we were talking to them, I don't know if we were recording yet, but we were talking about how well female comics do in Livermore, and I think that it's just a testament to our loyal audience that they love comedy, but two, they support women
yeah,
comics. And I think that's hard. I mean, I think when Mark Maron was here, we heard from him how I've heard him at least talk on his podcast about women comics not getting the fair deal that they should be getting, and that they're very funny. So I just always have loved this about our audience,
Yeah.
is that they really, really support women
Yeah,
comics.
they'll come out for it.
They will come out for it. It's great, which means the show's going to be a sellout. Rita Redner
Yeah.
in February.
Get your
Probably
tickets
a sellout. Yeah. Get your tickets now. So as I mentioned, today we're talking to the funny women of a certain age, and that was Julia Scotti, Carole Montgomery, who started the whole thing, Barb North, and Monique. Say it again.
Marvez.
Marvez.
Yeah.
Marvez, yes. They'll be performing live at the Bankhead on Friday, October 26th at 8 p.m. Make sure you get your tickets at livermorearts.org or by calling our box office at 925-373-6800. So enjoy our conversation, or their conversation with each other.
Yeah.
That's really what it was.
Yeah.
With the funny women.
Monique, my name's Chris Carter. I'm the executive director. Ruth is our director of marketing and my partner in crime on this podcast. And we love doing this and getting to meet the artists that come through Livermore, to give our patrons a sneak peek and learn more about you all. And this particular Funny Women of a Certain Age, this is the third time it's going to be at the Bankhead. I remember the first time it was actually scheduled for 2020. It took a couple years for that to come around.
I can't imagine what happened in 2020. I'm trying to remember.
I don't know if we want to talk about that or not.
No, let's not.
Having flashbacks.
Did any of you
I'm actually in San Francisco right now. I'm doing Throckmorton's tonight in Mill Valley.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I love that venue.
That's a great venue. Great venue.
Well, I was going to ask, first of all, I'll introduce everybody. So we have Carole Montgomery, who is the founder of Funny Women of a Certain Age, who got this all going. Julia Scotti, Barb North, and Monique Marvez, the stars of Funny Women of a Certain Age. And Carole, as the originator of this show, I was really hoping to get some insight from you as to how this all came about. And this is a Showtime special. It's how many Showtime specials have you done?
Three.
Okay. And what was the brainchild for this? Why did you do this, and how did you get it going?
But let me just say, that's a great question. I love when people ask that, because basically what had happened is I've been doing stand-up like the rest of the ladies. We've all been doing it a very, very long time. And whenever we would go to, clubs to headline, we would never have other women on the show. It was only just one woman on the show.
One woman, one black person, and a bunch of white guys.
Yeah. And basically, the excuse was always like, you can't put two women on the show. All they're going to do is talk about the same stuff. And it was like, that's not the case, And then what had happened is I was doing a podcast. People always ask me, what was the podcast? I don't remember, but it was with other older women. And after the podcast, we were laughing. Somebody had brought food, we were just having a blast. And I called my husband. I was walking home from the podcast. I was getting on the subway, and I went, I don't know why they won't do a show like this, where it's just older women, doing stand up and talking about their lives, because that's in the Showtime specials. We have those interstitials where we're talking to people, in between the spots. And so my husband, it's so funny. I've been in this business for so long. It was the only time ever that my husband said to me, "This is a great idea." Because in show business, you know what I mean? You throw so much stuff on the wall, and he went, "This is good." And it just snowballed. And it basically was, this is an underserved market. I'm sure you're aware of that. Older people in general don't get entertainment like this. So in that case, you know this, because after the shows, the last two times we did it, the people, they come up afterwards going, there's no entertainment for people our age, and we love this show.
Yeah. You know what else? Like 25 years ago, Carol and I did a panel. Remember, Carol?
Oh, yeah. Oh my
We
God.
did a panel of women in comedy, which was already like, that was like an oxymoron. It seemed like to the public, but there were women. And we had somebody from every decade. Remember, Joanne Worley was on it.
All
I'm
right.
10 years older than Carol, and then she was on it. And it was so much fun, and it was so silly and so refreshing because we just have fun together. And remember, Carol, we were at a Irish pub in LA when you told me about this idea.
Oh yeah.
A funny women of a certain age. And at the time I was probably in my 60s and you were in your 50s, and we were coming close to this.
Yeah.
Now we've got 70s. I'm 77. Julia, you're in your 70s, right?
Oh, no,
No, you're not.
You're in
I'm
your
62.
80s.
I'm
80?
62.
You're 63?
You're
Yeah,
such
yeah.
a liar.
Yeah,
What
she's a
are you
liar.
doing?
Yeah. And it's like when I started at 70, I'm 77. So when I started, I was in a comedy team with my husband, and I was like the girl they're bringing along, you know. We got then there was prejudice against teams then too, but it was like, why are you not a single white male?
Right.
I was
Well,
doing the best I could, but I wasn't.
You know, and the last time you were here, the show pretty much sold out. And you know, and we love our women comics, and they do so well at our theater. You know, Maria Bamford and Paula Poundstone and Rita Rudd, you know, they all come through and they sell out, and people go. I agree. I think
Yeah.
it's
The women comics that come through our theater all do really, really well.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, and it's encouraging as well to see them embraced, to see you all embraced when you come into town by our local audiences. I love it.
Well, also it's and this is really important to your listeners. We want the men there. We're not anti-men. We love men. You know, it's just that I do think that joke for joke, female comics right now are killing it. You know, it's harder, I think, for male comics to be original. We all have years of experience, and we all have a different point of view. I mean, one of the things I love about the show is everyone has a different point of view. You know, if you don't like me, you're going to like Julia. You don't like Julia, you're going to love Monique. You don't like Monique, you're going to love Barb, or you're going to love all of us. You're not going to hate all of us, because there will be something for everybody.
I love it.
Now,
I was gonna go ahead, Ruth.
We've determined that Julia, Carol, Barb, you've all been here before. Monique, were you here before as well?
It was in the first tour.
The first one. I thought so, but I couldn't quite remember. So
You can't
Yes,
see,
I
you
was.
can't
I
see
loved
it, but
it.
I had the poster from that show on my wall.
Oh,
So
nice.
Thursday, April 28th, 2022. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that was the one that was scheduled for
2020.
October of 2020.
2020.
Did any of you have to do? Well, I'm not going to go into 2020. We'll skip that. But when you tell somebody, I'm always curious. When you tell somebody that you're a comic, is the first thing they ask is for you to tell them a joke? Is that pretty common?
Say
Not for
something
me.
funny.
Say something funny.
Say something funny.
And I always say, give me money.
Yeah, I always say, you want to laugh, look at my checkbook balance.
Yeah.
Okay, you're ready for it.
Monique, what were you going to say? Not you?
Nobody ever, it's funny because people never think I'm a comedian. Like even when I'm sitting in the green room, they think I'm somebody's girlfriend. So I guess there's an archetype of what people think a female comedian should look or be like. And, you know, I on the cruise ships, unless somebody knows specifically what I do, when they see the poster, they're like, are you a singer? I'm like, no, I'm the comedian. And then they're like, you don't look funny. And I'm like, what does funny look like? You know, like, what does that look like?
I'm like, yeah,
I get that when I go to clubs sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm standing right in front of my poster with
Yeah,
my face
100%.
on it. And the person behind the desk says, are you here for the show?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
And you're like, I am the show. I am the
Yeah,
show.
am the show.
exactly. No, it's really funny, and it used to bother me because I didn't know what that meant. But it doesn't bother me now. It does, you know. It's like you'll figure it out when 30 seconds from now, you'll know. It'll be okay.
Well, like I know that, like from all the years of going on the road, like I should just have a shirt that says when you check into the hotel, "Hi, I'm the comedian."
Yeah.
Because they look at me, I mean, I mean, I'm a middle-aged woman. They're like, "You're the what? Huh?" They just can't for the life of them think, why aren't I going, why am I not complaining at a store?
Sometimes it's just easier not to mention that you're in other worlds that you're a comic on every level, for whether you're a man or a woman, because of that. Say something funny, or where have you been on this show or that show, or what do you know? It's
Where
like,
have I seen you?
I'm a
The one I love is, do you do this for a living?
Now, my
I ain't
favorite
doing
when I'm on a
enough.
cruise ship is they say to me when I'm on a ship, "Do you stay on the ship?"
Like that's your home?
Well, meaning like, do I get to stay on the ship the same as
Oh.
them? Like, oh no, I'm on a small watercraft
Yes.
next to you.
Swimming ashore.
I'm sitting in
Yeah.
one of those lifeboats.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so funny. That's
Well,
so funny.
one thing I was thinking about, and I've talked to other comedians about this, is there's like people will tell me sometimes, I'm like, "Chris, you're really funny," and it's like, okay, yeah, but there's a difference between being funny and being able to make people laugh on stage. Can you talk a little bit about that, Barb? I know you teach a little bit.
Yeah, and my husband teaches and wrote a book called How to Kill in Comedy.
Yeah.
It is a different skill set because it's a conversation. When you're doing stand-up, you're having a conversation with the audience. You're not there to make them laugh, even though that is obviously what you're there to show them this comedic person and have a conversation with them. And they're discovering what's wrong with you, so they're laughing. They're discovering, it's just a different medium, I guess I would say, or media, because I'm not very good with words. That showing yourself on stage is the biggest challenge for a lot of people. So, getting on stage and feeling, for me, like you're just talking to your friends, because that's how we all start making people laugh, obviously, whether it's getting in trouble at school or whatever you did to get there. And translating that, I think that a lot of people get in their own way is why they're not funny on stage, but they're funny off stage. Because they're afraid to bring that vulnerability, that familiarity with the audience.
That's the one thing that always amazes me about comics, and my wife says it too all the time, is like how open you have to be, right? And just, you really have to lay it all out, and kind of expose parts of yourself that, might be embarrassing or maybe not, but it's
the more embarrassing the better, because you get the laughs.
Yeah.
It's like we're up there to make people laugh, but we don't care if they're laughing at us or with us. I mean, they're laughing. That's the pay. So the risk of having someone laugh at you is not a risk for us, because that's what the pay is. I don't know if the other ladies feel that way, but that's the way I feel, is the gift is the laugh. So I don't care if you're laughing at me because I'm an idiot, or you're laughing with me because I noticed something clever. Laugh, because that's what's fun.
But you have to be brave, right? I mean, there's a certain amount of that, it seems.
I tell people, I have a couple people that I mentor, not even for money, just like people I see promising that I mentor. And I tell them there's two moments that you have to decide as a comic, and they don't happen on the same day, and maybe not even the same year. And that is, number one, when to unbutton the kimono, and number two, when to let it drop. Because if you're not willing to do those two things, you're never going to be a good comic. And it starts with opening and being super vulnerable. But then at some point, you've got to level up. If you want to be a great if you want to be a good comic, you can probably just have open kimono. But, great comic, you have to let it drop.
That's brilliant. That is,
It is. It's a
that
great
is one of the most brilliant things I've heard about stand-up.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
true.
the
Like,
absolute truth, though.
And
Yeah.
taking the gloves off on your flaws, because people are not laughing at what's right with you. They're
Right.
laughing at what's wrong with you. It's like if I say, hi, I'm Barb, I'm happily married, I have a wonderful daughter and a wonderful grandson. Well, good for you, Barb. It's like,
Now,
interestingly
say
enough,
that and
Barb,
make it funny.
interestingly enough, Barb, that and I guess it's a generational thing.
mhm.
I have a clip now that's on dry bar, which is ironic because I'm, I don't drink anyway. It doesn't matter, but it sounds funny to call it dry bar. It sounds like they're going to do your hair.
Yeah.
But this clip has gone bananas, Carol. I don't know if you've monitored this, but it's at 23 million views and climbing 100,000 every few. It's changed my life. It's kind of like the Angela Johnson nail lady.
Yeah.
It's gone bananas. And it's me basically, like you saying, Barbara, I'm married and I have a child and it's gone well. But then to take that left turn, because a joke is like a
Right.
mini movie. I
That's
tell
right.
people a joke is a
That's
tiny
right.
little movie in your head that has a beginning, a middle, a twist, a surprise, and end.
Absolutely.
And the twist is always, I actually in my act say, memorize this face. This is the face of joy because I know things. And then I flip the script and talk about all the things I got right in spite of the things I got wrong, what I learned from the things. And the clip that's got 23 million views starts with, pick a guy you like because they're gonna stay that way and they might even get worse. Like that's the first line. It's the most obvious. The few people that I've shown the clip, I don't even show the clip. People have like emailed me and said like, oh my God, I just saw this. But a couple of my friends that have asked that aren't comics, that are civilians, that have said like, what do you think made this clip go the way it went? I said, the simplicity of the honesty. The day that I recorded it, it sounds terrible, but because I'm in Utah, it's a small amount of money. I was there just because I figured, let me be seen in another light. There was zero pressure to impress or to get a standing up. So I just said, you know what, do really simple, clean, because it's a clean channel, do very simple, clean, no one can take offense with it humor. And it's gone crazy because it's just super simple things. So
But
simple.
we get your angst and your experience with that simple joke.
Well,
and
right, because I say, I said, let me tell you, I'm going to repeat it for each one of my failed marriages. You can't change a man. You can't change a man. You can't change a man. And I go, why? Because they're in their simplest form. It's like trying to bend a rock. Element 119 on the elemental table is man. Like, it's just that simple. And but I learned, after 3 failed marriages, I learned like any sort of change or negotiation it's a fool's errand. You might get lucky. They might change, but never because of anything you said or did. It was just because, they got a DUI or something.
let me ask
about this, Chris, is that, and Ruth, this is what Monique and Barb and Julia are all talking about, is the honesty that we all have. Like, I think we all, to me, Monique, everything she said is honest, but then she says, I'm going to repeat it 3 times for every time of my failed marriages. So she admits she's,
yes. She's telling you her flaw. She's telling you she makes bad choices.
Right. So it's that's
that I didn't learn the first 2 times.
Yeah.
But
and
that's
what.
Go ahead, Carol.
Go. You say something. Go ahead.
The thing of it is, you made it okay to make bad choices so that the audience, the people in the audience who have also made those bad choices go, oh, I don't feel so all alone anymore.
Yeah, and the people who've only made 2 bad choices in marriages feel a whole lot better about themselves.
Oh yeah.
I made 2 good choices and 1 really, 2 bad choices and 1 really.
Well, let me ask. I was thinking about this too. Are you always writing? Are you just always like? What's your creative process like? When you think of something, do you write it down as soon as you?
I write every single day. Every single day I write.
Yeah. You know what? This is really interesting. My son used to say, he goes, Mommy, you only make people laugh because you make faces. When he was a little boy, and I said, well, those faces bought you a house, so shut up. But but I would say since the dreaded pandemic, I've written more than I have to make myself. Everyone is different. Some people have it in their heads. Sometimes I sit down. I notice that when if I'm not performing a lot, because like the summer right now is slow, so I'm not out doing everything. My synapses aren't working as well. But then yet when I do go out and do, let's say, a spot in the city, I want to go and do another spot in the city because my mind goes, oh, I should have tagged that and I did that. That would have done. So everyone has a different way they do it. Monique writes every day. I think, Julia, you write every day, right?
I write every day, and I also sometimes I'll give you a perfect example. I'm sitting watching TV the other night in my recliner, and I had no socks, and I know my toes are all going different directions because I'm old. And I said, that's pretty funny. And I guess if it's not just me. So I went up and I said, I long for my youthful days when all my toes went in the same direction. And boom, the whole audience says,
what a great line.
Julia, I'm gonna add to that. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
I dated a man that was much younger than me and kind of on the spectrum, and was never super cool guy, but never complimentary, never a bully, just a certain kind of. And one day I said, there's no actual evidence on earth that you care for me. Like, you walk in front of me, you don't talk a lot, you're not very affectionate, you never and we were literally lying in bed. I said, say something nice. And he said, you don't have old lady feet.
Your toes are straight.
I said, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Do you
Yeah,
feel?
the
I knew
writing
exactly what he meant, Julia. I knew exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
And it's just that observation. And I don't have jokes. I don't write jokes. I tell little mini stories. I think we all kind of do that. And
Yeah.
And I forget who defined the difference between a comedian and a comic, but it was the
first
comic
Red
that-
Skelton did, and then Steve North
Give him
did.
the quote. Give him the quote, Barb. Give the
What's
quote.
the quote?
It's that a comedian is a funny person and a comic says funny things.
Right.
Right.
But a comedian also says funny things, but the heart of it
They
is
say
funny.
it's funny.
Yes.
They say it's funny. It's
Yes.
for me,
Right.
I'm a big fan of the silent comics and
Mhm.
the visual comics. And so if I see a scenario in my head, I think, or how can I make this funny? On paper, if you look at my act, there's nothing funny in there. But it's what you take.
But it's
to
you.
the stage, and
You're in there. And that's
Yeah.
what's funny.
How you do
Yeah.
it.
Very funny.
And Julia, saying to a
Yeah.
podcast of people listening to One Come So, to say there's nothing in my act that's funny is not very funny. All right.
It's not exactly what they had us on for.
I'm
No, but
funny,
even though there is nothing in my act that's funny, it's the magic.
It's
and sometimes
It is
people
funny.
say things to you that is your writing. I mean, my husband one day said, I promised to brush my teeth before the holidays. I mean, you have to use that
Wow.
as something I don't want to hear from my husband. I would rather hear you're as beautiful as you were when I married you.
Well, it's funny.
My
Like,
act about there were the clues that you're getting older, and there are some days when I just smell funny, and I don't know where it's coming from. The first time it happened, I was like, what the hell is that? Then I realized it was me. And that's why Louis was invented.
And the writing, I find the writing to be easier right now because of the aging, because it is so ridiculously funny to age. I mean, it's like everything changes and you don't know it's going to change. I don't know what we thought, like we couldn't do math or something, that we were going to get old, but it's like we got old and it's really strange. So there's a lot of what?
No, I was going to say, because we all talk about, the foibles of aging and life, but it's important for the listeners to understand we have people from all ages at our shows.
Well,
And-
I was going to chime in because I'm always the salmon swimming in the opposite direction, because I'm just going to be very honest with you. I work out a lot. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I never go in the sun. So when I tell people my age and they say you don't look my age, my immediate response is, and you should see me naked. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I say it sincerely, because I don't have anyone to show. On my last birthday, I was on a ship with a big theater. So I had like big Nancy Sinatra hair and red lips and boots. And after the show, I'm in a little cabin surrounded by mirrors. So I take the dress off and I look amazing. So I start taking a bunch of pictures of myself naked. And the sad part is that I had no one to send them to. Like, I just was looking at them saying, this is me in my birthday suit. I'm very proud. It's between me and the iPhone. So I added a bit to my act saying, if anybody knows how to hack an iPhone or hack the cloud, like, I don't have the nerve to send them out, but if somebody can figure out how to get these naked pictures of me into circulation, it would be such a boon to my career. And so I actually attack it from the fact that, I don't know how adult we can get on this, so I'll be careful, but I attack this from the fact that, I've shut down Monique's Boys to Men camp because I've always dated like breathtakingly younger than me men. And I've said, like, I'm looking for an age appropriate man with super saggy balls, like really saggy, because they represent wisdom. That's rings on a tree. And then I'll point halfway down my thighs and I'll go, these are 401k balls. This is what I want right here. Like, I don't want the little uptight, peachy, like I want, and then I'll go even like to my kneecap and I'll say, these are Tesla paid cash nuts. This is what your girl is looking for. So, because of the nature of my act, I actually ended up going viral during lockdown from young girls lip syncing me. And somebody said, you're trending on TikTok. I said, I'm not on TikTok. That's Chinese spyware. And they said, well, whether it is or it isn't, hashtag Monique Marvez has 190 million views.
Wow.
And it's all young girls. It's all young girls lip syncing my act.
Wow.
So it's just interesting how I am a woman of a certain age, but I'm a super late bloomer. Like, I've never been happier, more comfortable, more ready to live. Like, the next part of my life is the best part of my life. And I exude that on stage. It's like, I have knowledge now. I know what to do with myself,
And the audience is that's the thing I was talking about. Everyone who comes to the show, it literally goes from 21 up until the hundreds. When every special we tape, half of the audience were millennials. Just because it's women of a certain age and we're what's interesting to me, like, there are comics I know that are like, I don't want to talk about my age. And I'm like, when I immediately say, I go on stage, I go, I'm 66. And the young people literally lean in to go, please tell us, what do you give us?
Share your wisdom.
Share your wisdom.
Yeah.
So I always like to say to the audience that, come to the show, bring your husbands, bring your boyfriends, bring your mothers, your grandma. Everyone's going to have a blast with the show, because we
bring
all
your kids, bring your daughters, because we'll say the things to your daughters that you can't say.
Right. Absolutely.
I have a whole bunch of my act is about my nieces. And one of the lines that gets a huge laugh is when I say, my niece asked me, Auntie Monique, what was it like in the 1900s? And I explain how awesome they were, because we had deferred gratification. We had heavy petting and social cues and phone number exchanges, where now you just swipe left and you meet at the Pinkberry, So I talk a lot about stuff like that. And even, I don't talk so much about aging as what I've seen in my lifetime, sort of what I call my then and now set, where I say things, like, remember when we were afraid of our parents? Like, our generation respected and feared our parents. I said, now parents are afraid of their kids. Like, their kid is acting a certain way, and the parent is like, you look anxious. I'm very anxious. Stop looking at me, or I'm going to need an emotional support pet. Like, it's your call. Turn your face, or we're getting a ferret, And when I do this stuff, people laugh because they see themselves, because you have these people that have children late in life. You have these 40-something affluent parents with young kids, and the kids are totally running the show. You know, the parents are terrified of them. So, you know, that's the stuff I talk about is sort of what I call my then and now comparisons.
Yep.
Well,
I have a
talk a lot
question.
Go
about,
ahead,
I talk a
Ruth.
lot about my marriage because
Yeah.
it's 57 years in, you know.
Unbelievable.
Wow,
And so-
congratulations.
And so that's like strange to people, you know, the people that are single that think marriage is like getting locked in a cage, you know, and I say it's not like that. It's more like a slow acid that eats you away day by day.
Well, if you miss enough alimony payments, it is like being locked in a cage.
Okay, Ruth, what do you?
Literally.
I have a quick question. I sort of want to go back to this concept of you guys speaking to the audience, right? And you're speaking to these younger generations as well as connecting with people your own age and such. I feel like that, especially for comedians and comics, whatever you guys might call yourself, for female comics, that's actually more of a thing than it would be necessarily for male comics. I feel like men have lots of role models, while women today, you know, if my mom worked when I was growing up, and she's 89, but her environment was completely different than mine. And my daughter, who's 30, I hear her struggles with being a woman in the workforce and just even living life and being free and being you and being unapologetic. So, and I feel like you guys do, like, everything that you're saying here is very unapologetic, and this is who we are, and this is what we want out of life. So I feel like that this is more of a thing for women, not just comics, but women of all professions, of all ages, sort of bringing along the younger generation.
Well,
of women.
and and trying to communicate our life with feminism, with all of those kinds of things. Like when I was coming up, politically incorrect was to call a woman a girl, which we like calling each other. And now it's fine to call us bitches and hoes, but can't call not call us girl. You know, it's just the world changes, and it's just fascinating to watch the world change. And then connecting with the audience of all ages is so interesting. You know, I was noticing, like, now we're going to the moon again. And we went through that in our, right, Julia? We went through that. We went to the moon. So it's good that we're going back to the moon because someone has to rescue Alice Cramden. And
To the moon. I got it.
And then to look at an audience and say half the audience laughed at that and the other half didn't, and then to explain,
well, even the fact that even
the other half is whispering, what is she talking about? Right.
But here's the thing, Ruth, what's very funny about that reference in particular is the fact that there was a time when a man could threaten his wife with violence, and that was a punchline.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you said one of these days, bam, zoom, right to the moon,
right,
like that never make it on television today.
I know.
Yeah.
She never backed down. She gave as good as she got from him.
She did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She had balls, you know. And
Yeah, but
so it's a lot of that, you know. There was a period of time where young women were anti-feminist, and they were in, you know, maybe 20 years ago, I remember this going on, and they were lawyers, and they were all, I'm like, why do you think you're a lawyer? You know, it's like, you know, so the world has changed so much for women, and hopefully it's changed even more for women after November, but in the direction we want. But it's just a really interesting thing too, to see life repeat itself the way it does. And I think that's something you bring with age.
Can I ask?
Here we go again, you know.
Can I ask for all of you, who was your comedic inspiration as you were coming up? Like, do you have any favorite comedians or idols or anybody that really inspired you?
Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Carol Burnett was the world to me. Carol Burnett was the world to me.
Yeah.
I
I loved Imogene Coca, and I loved Selma Diamond.
Selma Diamond.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
I have a different story. I mean, like, and all of these women that you mentioned were great. My dad, and one of the reasons I went up where Julia was saying we were up in the Borscht Belt this weekend, my dad was a bartender in the Catskill Mountains. So my earliest memories are of watching, Toady Fields and
Jody Fields, I love, yeah.
and Jackie Mason and Jack Roy, who of course becomes Rodney Dangerfield, coming in the afternoon while my dad's setting up, and I'm sitting with my dad, and they do a sound check. They're sitting around having a drink with my father afterwards. So my father gave me my love of comedy. So I grew up watching those people. Then he turned me on to the Marx Brothers. And so I've always, there's so many people that inspired me. The Marx Brothers probably are my idols. Yeah. And then for stand-up, Carlin, Richard Pryor, Lily Tomlin.
Lily Tomlin for sure.
And can I just tell, this is a great story, and I always get emotional about this, so I apologize if I'm hogging it. But so years and years and years ago, I was at the Comedy Store, and I go and do my set, and this is before phones. It's important, no cameras. And I go and do my set, and this very large, big man walks up to me after my set and says, "Ma'am, Richard Pryor would like to speak with you." And I was like, what? And he brought me over, and he was sitting with Mitzi. And this is right at the end when he was very ill. And he leaned over to me and he goes, "I think you're very funny," because he had watched me. And I looked at Mitzi and I went, "I'm done." And I walked out to a payphone, called my husband, sobbing I was like, "Oh my God." And he thought, what happened? Did you get into an accident? Richard Pryor said I was funny. And he was like, "That's good. So, I mean, like that was like such a milestone for me because, and every one of these ladies and all the other women you've had, we're so vulnerable at the beginning, and all we want to do is, it's not even, real comedians do this for the love of stand-up. We love doing it, and it's so hard, and we're treated so horribly at the beginning. So to have this man say that to me, I could have ended it right there. But yeah.
How early was that in your career?
I was in LA. I want to say it's probably like I was probably in 10 years into my career, 10 or 12. And for me, what Bob was saying about aging in general, I really leaned into the whole being of a certain age because I feel like I'm the one of the leading spokespeople for pro aging. So I really have leaned into it, and everything I do has when I do my material, there's a point to it, whether it's about being older or women's rights. There's a point to everything.
Yeah.
And you say being pro aging because the other choice is being pro death. So
it beats the alternative, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Julia,
I like to brag about my age because people don't think I'm 77.
Well, yeah, well, you don't look it.
So I get a bump with that. Yes. And so I've never hidden my age.
And Julia, who are you gonna?
Different standpoint, I have a different perspective on it. Which Carole, I don't know if you want to talk about it here, but
sure.
I am transgender, and for me, that moment that Carole was talking about, the Richard Pryor type moment, was on America's Got Talent when I came out in front of the world,
right?
And nobody shot me, and it was it's
hilarious.
It really. It just engulfed me. I had been away from comedy for 10 years and I had come back only a year or two before. And it was really an emotional,
I saw you on that, and that really was a great moment. And a very funny set, by the way. It's
and go ahead. I just wanted to give kudos to my buddy Carole for including me in the Funny Women series. And I've told the story a gazillion times, but I'm going to tell it again, Carole, so shut the fuck up. Carole had me booked on, we've known each other for 40-something years. Carole had me booked on the first show. About a month before the taping, I had emergency open heart surgery. wound up getting quadruple bypass. So I get out of the hospital, and now we're a couple of weeks away, and I call her, and she goes, "You're going to be able to do the tape?" I go, "I could do the tape. I'll be there. There's no way I was going to be there." She said to me at that time, she goes, "I don't know if there's going to be a second show, but if there is, you'll be the first person I call." And true to her word, my sister here put me on the second one, More Funny Women for Certain. So this is the bond I have with her and with all of the women that I'm close to in my life who've taken me in as one of their own and don't judge me. And it's a fabulous, fabulous feeling.
Julia,
You know
I
what's
saw
so
too.
weird, Sorry, Chris.
That's okay. I was just going to say, Julia, I saw there you also have a documentary.
Yes.
Do you want to tell people where they can watch that?
Well, I knew you were going to
How we
ask
can
me
watch
that.
it?
It's called Julia Scotti Funny That Way. It was produced and directed by Susan Sandler, who wrote the movie Crossing Delancey. She's a professor of she teaches screenwriting at NYU Tisch. She's got street cred, and she and I have gotten so close, and it's you can see it on Amazon Prime and a number of other places too. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Sure.
The thing I was going to say, Chris, and it's two things I wanted to say. Number one, I've known Carole for a bajillion years. I met her at Vegas when I used to stand in for her at Crazy Girls, like back when Bobby Bacalao from The Sopranos actually ran a room. And remember Steve Sharippa?
Of course.
And Carole and I would when she went on vacation, I would fill in at Crazy Girls at the Riviera. And so when she called me about the third one, I was in a hotel somewhere, and ordinarily somebody calls you and they say, "We want you to do something." You're like, "Well, when? How much does it pay? What time?" Blah, blah, blah. Carole's like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. You want to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, I'll give you details later." So like a week later, she calls me, and it's still very casual, no like paperwork or anything like that. And, she's like, "Thanks for being easygoing." I said, "You're Carole. Like, you send up the bat signal, I'm on the phone." Like,
Yeah.
it's like, there's no question that when the bat signal goes up, like, I'm there. You can count on me.
Well,
No, you
yeah.
you can count on me
Wait
for.
a minute. She hijacked me. Is that the word I'm looking for?
She hijacks you.
The day of the taping, right? Killer lineup. Carol Leifer. I mean, who else was on that show? It was
Caroline Ray.
Caroline Ray was on. I mean, major players in comedy, right? So I walk in, and now I'm fresh out of heart surgery. She goes, "Oh, by the way, you're closing the show today." I was like, no, that's wrong. She goes, I can't follow these people. She goes, "I know you can." And you know what? That was I had never heard that from anybody that booked me on the show before, that had that much faith in me as a comic. And she was right, and I love her for that. And I would go to the moon for her.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to tell my Love Carole story because
wait, but I do have to say one thing though.
What?
I did the same thing to Monique because she had to follow Marsha.
I was going to say it.
And
She
she
did it to you
say it.
too.
Oh no! Actually, my story's better, Julia. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be very quick, Barb, and then we'll get to you.
Yours
'Cause
was brilliant. Your performance was brilliant, what you did following Marsha.
Well, here's what happened. Contractually, I believe Marsha had to be last when the special aired. So when
Right.
you see the special, I'm not last. Marsha is.
That happened to
But
me
Marsha went up and performed as if it were a mic drop. Pull out all the stops.
Mhm.
I'm done. You're done. Show's over. What Carole and the director did that was so brilliant was that it took me 90 seconds, and then I was gone. But the intro, when people were like, "The show's not over, there's another comic," and the director held everybody at the end of the show and made me come out and redo my intro so that I would have the proper energy for the intro that would match the set. And then when you see the special, I get a beautiful intro. I had a great set, but on Showtime, Marsha goes last. In the room, I went last. And then my one little quick dirty confession that I love is that I adore Julia. And when we were doing our tour and hanging out, I actually I have a gay husband named Brandon. And when I say that, I mean, like, we're very, very close. We travel, we hang out. And Brandon is, you know, he can be a little high maintenance. So I actually missed Julia's set the first 2 nights that we were on tour, and we're not on the same special. So I didn't even know she was trans till the 3rd show. And by then we had hung out and we'd had meals and we'd been in a bus. And the funny thing is, when I actually saw her set, I was like, oh man, like, it meant nothing to me because I had already met and bonded with her in such a different way, that when she was telling me about her son and going on vacation and going to the baseball museum and the issues like, I'm looking at a woman telling me a story of a hardship with a child, or not a hardship, but, you know, whatever it was. And I had already so strongly committed our relationship to us being a couple of gals hanging out, telling jokes. So
that might be the
know,
highest, that might be the highest compliment you could get as a trans woman. Or a trans man, a trans person.
Even when I found out, it didn't register. Like, it didn't go anywhere in the file. The piece of paper sitting on my desk.
I said to Carole before the taping, and I think I said it to her a couple of times. I said, listen, if you feel like this is going to be uncomfortable for you, and you won't drop me, no hard feelings. I will still love you anyway. She goes, we can't swear on here, can we?
I think you've already done it, so we'll just have to put we'll have to put a not safe for work.
Well, she just looked at me and she's like, shut the fuck up. That's what she just said. That's exactly what she said. And she was.
I said to her, first of all, and this is really important, and I love the fact that these 3 women are on the show. It's my show. You know, it's like, I'm not going to listen to what you know, if the network had even, they didn't even ask. So that's the first thing. But if somebody would have gone, well, you were not going to, you know, for whatever reason, I'd be like, okay, well, then I'm not doing the show. It's my show. And it's really important that people understand that is, you know, I created the show to give women, to lift women up. Yeah. And Julia is as much of a woman as I am. So, amen. You know what I mean? So, you know, but that's more her, what in Yiddish we like to call mishigas. But that's her, and I've said to her, and she kept saying, I said, would you shut up already? You're on the show. You'll always be on the show.
Yep.
No?
Carol's amazingly supportive woman. You are, Carole. I mean, when I first met Carole, I was still, you know, my husband and I were doing the comedy team thing, and we were teaching stand-up, and then we started managing comedians. So we've done like a lot in the comedy world. And when he teaches classes and I host the shows of the classes and stuff. So I was staying alive with stand-up, but into doing of all these comedians, you know, I mean, and she's like, you're a brilliant comedian. She kept telling me that, come back, you can do this. You can, every time she puts me on a show, I'm like, I'm going to be at the beginning, right? Because I'm like the worst. And she's just she's always supportive. She stays at my house. We come, we play, you know, we've been friends for what, 25, 30 years, but how old is Lane? That's how long we've been friends. And, you know, it just, we watch each other's growth together. We, you know, and she asked me to partner with her in this, and we're just, she's amazing. Carole is, when she's on your side, she is on your side. And that is so rare in comedy. And I don't know what it's like when she's not on your side, because I've never been there. But
you don't want to be. You don't
want to be on the other end of that.
But also, and this is so kind, and the ladies have been so wonderful. But this is what, when we're touring, and we, like, with the people that are listening, when you come to the show, you're going to see that we all love each other. We all have. I mean, I still haven't figured out, because we try to do it, I think, for the second special, where we had a camera in the back so they could pick up our clip, but it's not it's not the same. The love backstage and what we go on and what we're doing and talk, it's that to me, if I can figure out a way to film that, that will blow people's minds, because we have more fun and we love being on the front and talk, but we have more fun backstage.
We do.
We probably do, when we're actually on stage.
Wasn't it in it was in at this theater where the meatball story was born, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, so yes, when we
Meatball story.
Yeah, well, we went
this sounds good.
We went across the street to the restaurant that's right next to the theater.
Yep.
And it was you, Monique, your friends were there, so you didn't come with us. But it was me, Leanne.
Yes. And it was a very nice restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we go in, and Leanne had wanted, so we all ordered like appetizers. And Julia didn't know what she wanted, so Leanne ordered the meatball appetizers. And Julia goes, "Can I have one of your meatballs?" And I thought Leanne was going to stab her. It's like, no, these are my meatballs. And Julia is Italian. She doesn't understand my meatball, your meatball, their meatball. And she couldn't understand. She goes, "Why can't I have a meatball?" She goes, "Because these are my meatballs." And we went, so that becomes a running joke. Now, if I'm not on the road with her, but with Leanne, or if I'm with Julia and not with Leanne, we send pictures of meatballs to each other.
Did you put that in the writer? Did you request the meatball in the writer?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, Carole and I have an even funnier one than the meatball, which is rat fights. Because during COVID, when they locked down the restaurants in New York during COVID, people were filming giant rats because there was no food and there was no garbage, and the rats were going crazy, and there were like people filming rat fights in the streets. So Carole and I were using images of rat fights to kind of describe if anybody gets in our way. Like, that's the wrong side of Carole. When you get on the wrong side of Carole, you get a rat fight picture, which is like, it was like, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a rat biting your ass. That's what you're gonna get. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we won't get any of that in Livermore, and
no.
Really looking forward to the show. I think it's going to be, a lot of people are going to show up, and they're going to make them feel really good. So we appreciate that. Before we finish, there's one thing we like to do is play a little game, and I hope you're up for it. It's super easy, and we'll figure out how to do this as we go. But it's called Either Or. So it's just a way to get to know you better. So either or. So I'm gonna give you a list of items and compare it to each other, and you have to pick which one you prefer.
Okay.
It starts out easy. It might get a little bit harder, but there's no wrong answer. So like if I was to say sunrise or sunset, which one would you choose?
Fiddler on the Roof.
Both. Okay. Anybody else? Sunset.
Oh, sunset for me, for sure. Sunset.
Yeah.
Sunset for me because I'm only every once in a while awake for sunrise, and that's because I haven't gone to sleep yet.
Got it. Okay. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Cats.
50-50.
Dogs are too much work. They're too dependent.
East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
West Coast.
I'm torn.
You're bi-coastal.
Bi-coastal.
I am.
Okay. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
What was the first one?
iPhone
or Android?
iPhone.
I only know iPhone, so I can't answer that objectively.
I'm embarrassed to say that I have an Android, and I'm trying to learn the iPhone, and it's not working that well.
TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Or Twitter?
Instagram.
Not Twitter.
No. Instagram. Okay.
Instagram, yeah.
Flying or driving?
What was the first one?
Flying or driving?
Oh, driving.
Flying.
All right. Breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Dinner for breakfast.
Breakfast for dinner.
Breakfast for dinner, yeah. Unless there's meatballs.
Come on, cold pizza, guys.
Cold pizza is good in the morning. You're right.
Yeah.
But omelets are so good for dinner.
Okay. What about, the smell of buttered popcorn or the smell of freshly baked bread?
Freshly baked.
Oh,
I'm gonna go
Bread.
bread.
Freshly baked.
Yeah.
Bread.
Okay. The book or the movie?
Book.
Book.
Readers, all
Depends.
readers. Depends.
Depends. I use the, oh, no, that's.
Book. I'm gonna go book.
Book.
Yeah.
Pirates or ninjas?
Pirates.
The first one?
Pirates or ninjas?
Pirates?
Is this who we want to have sex with? Oh, no.
I don't know.
Could be.
I'm
say
gonna blow it out.
pirates?
I'm gonna say ninja. I would,
Yes.
yeah, ninja, man.
Ninja.
I think
okay.
turtles. Oh, never mind.
Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Wait, did you say pirates?
Pirates or ninjas?
Are those pirates? Pirates?
I'm still going pirates, even if it's, I'm still going pirates.
Okay.
Gonna go pirates only? Yeah.
I'd go pirates.
Now
Yeah,
we're gonna
okay,
get into
pirate.
some comedy ones.
Okay.
Slapstick or rom-com?
Slapstick.
Everybody's okay. Clean jokes or dirty jokes?
Dirty.
wait, did you all say dirty? I didn't get
In
All four of you
unison.
said-
We said it in unison.
Yes.
You said it in unison. I was like, wait, everybody just said dirty together.
Mom jokes or dad jokes?
Dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
I
Moms
didn't
are
like
too close to real. Mom jokes are too scary still. Not enough time has passed.
I came from Brooklyn. I can't do anything about the mob. I'm just saying.
I got mom jokes.
Mom jokes.
no mothers.
Joan Rivers or Gilda Radner?
Joan.
Brad.
No, Gilda.
Gilda.
Joan.
All right. Thank you all, by the way, for
And do we have to choose, really? I mean,
No,
we're
you don't.
talking about,
you don't.
I
I was trying to find some two that were no longer around, so you didn't have to feel any pressure. But last one, Livermore, California, on October 26th, which is when you're going to be in Livermore, California, or anywhere else in the world on that night.
Livermore. Every day of the week.
Yes, Livermore.
Livermore.
Held
okay.
over. We should be held over.
Yeah. Isn't that
We'll
what the
move there.
Raven? I think the Raven said that in Edgar Allan Poe, Livermore. I think
Livermore,
that was it,
Livermore.
Yeah.
Look at the reader.
You're smart. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and looking forward to when you come into town in October. Hoping for a sold out night, and I think we're going to get there. It's selling really good.
Yeah,
great.
It's going to be a lot of
These
fun.
guys, I'm an honor when I
Yeah.
get to work with any of these people, because these are amazing women that have just stayed with comedy. And
Yep.
I've bounced around with a lot of things, and they are just brilliant. So
Well,
Well, you are too. I wish that that it was happening sooner, because I really want to see these women and
yeah.
and play. We're gonna have a ball. We are going to absolutely have a blast.
yes.
All right. Well,
I
let's
love you,
do it.
ladies.
Yeah, y'all are off the hook. Y'all have a good day, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Right,
you.
thank you.
It's really fun. We're looking forward to it, Chris.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Andrew, thanks.
That was hysterical. So much fun. So great to see them interacting with each other. Some really poignant moments as well. And that
Yeah.
was, I really enjoyed hearing them chat it up with each other. It was a lot of fun.
It was funny. I forgot to tell you, Ruth. I had emailed Carole last week, and I said, "So who's going to be in the interview?" And she said, "All of us, all four of them." Okay.
Okay, there's going to be Rob.
Yeah, that was really fun. That's the first time we've interviewed that many people at once, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
lots of screens. Justin,
yeah.
you have your work cut out for
Yeah,
you.
so it's going to be a lot of fun to edit. But yeah, they were all wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us once again for Beyond the Stage, featuring the funny women of a certain age. Again, they'll be performing here at the Bankhead on Friday, October 26th at 8 p.m. So get your tickets now at livermorearts.org or by calling the box office at 925-373-6800. I'm Ruth Eggerman.
And I'm Chris Carter. Bye.
Bye.
Sir, are you offended by me saying you're simple?
No.
No, he's delighted. Did you see the look on his face? Because he wants her to understand and quit nagging him. He's like, finally, someone on my side, okay?